Okay, welcome to another episode from Tailors with Love. Today, we're going to talk about Snatch. Directed by Guy Ritchie, Rotten Tomatoes has this at 73% with the critics, 93% with the audience. The costume designer for this one is Verity Hawkes, whose filmography boasts of About Time, Revolver, and The Hole, to mention but a few. And I'm pleased to say I've got Verity on the phone now. How are we doing today, Verity?
Very good. Very
Excellent.
good.
Thanks for carving out time to speak Snatch. So do you remember, did you see the script to begin with? Was it something that you saw the script and then created the characters and the costumes for the characters? Can you talk about that?
Quite a lot of, there was things that were often in films, you know, people say, oh, it's fabulous, you did this, and you're like, yeah, it's actually scripted. You know, like there's some things that are scripted. I can't remember what was actually, you know, but obviously there were certain things that were scripted. And then often what happens with jobs is because you have a film with so many characters, once you meet the actor, those actors have had all that time to just solely think of their character. So quite a lot of good ideas, you know, it's a collaboration sometimes, particularly with modern pieces that people obviously understand the clothes more than a period piece or a fantasy piece. But so often you find that actors will come with really good ideas that you can then use, and you've either come to the same conclusion or you're sort of parallel, or you're miles away and they draw you, you know. So I think that happened. I remember Brad wanting to look as sort of ugly as possible, I suppose is the easiest way of saying it. He was really into the ugliest clothes and, you know, just totally getting away from what he's usually cast as, and, you know, enjoying the character role that he was given.
Yeah.
And, you know, he totally embraced all the kind of clothes that we put on him, and he loved them all. And, you know, just like, God, more, you know.
Because he's terrific in the film, obviously. But I mean, what's really funny is it does feel like they had like the heavyweight A-list actor in there with some relatively up-and-coming actors. I mean, Jason Statham obviously wasn't the monolith that he is today, and same with like Stephen Graham and you know, the list goes on, Benicio Del Toro. So it does feel like he was kind of the A-lister. Did it feel like that while you were there as well, or did he kind of quickly gel into being one of the guys?
Oh no, he was totally one of the guys. I mean, he was the A-list, obviously. He was their Pitt, but he was, you know, he didn't disappear off into his trailer. He was just wanted. Of all the films I've worked on, it was one of the most enjoyable. It was such good fun, you know, like everybody had such fun on it, and it was such a laugh. And it came from Guy, you know, like it was a comedy, obviously, but it was a lot of the gags came about on set. You know, they were written in because they were funny or something happened and Guy quickly wrote in another bit or another line, and just everybody had such a fab time. I mean, we just laughed from the moment we got there to the moment we kind of got in our cars to go home, and then did it all again the next day. So yeah, Brad was it's weird. Often on films, actors, even though he's in the whole film, he only filmed with us for 3 weeks.
Right.
So people come in, do a chunk, we film all their scenes, because those guys have got busier schedules and, you know, tighter, you know, sort of you need to fit in with their time frame. So he came in, and then Benicio came in, and then Dennis Farina came in. It was almost, and they overlapped a bit because there were certain scenes where they needed to overlap, but it was sort of in chunks.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. And so, I was going to ask about Guy as well, because we did an episode on The Gentleman, and researching that, I learned that Guy is very into style himself. He knows a lot about suiting. He knows a lot about fabric, especially. Apparently, he can, like, you know, just by touching a fabric, he can tell you whether it's like made up of mohair or silk. So back then, did you get the impression that he was also quite hands-on when it came to the costuming and the style?
Yeah, he's very interested in the look of things and the language of clothes as well. Right. Especially with, you know, especially with the theme of the film. You know, you have to be true, you have to be stylish, but you also have to be fairly true to what those guys would be like. You know, you can't totally pull them out of their environment and dress them in a way that people get confused, because you have to quickly identify with them as who they are, so you don't have to, you know, it's like, right, they're a whatever, you know, and in the quickest and most stylish way that you can, you know, and also comedic, in a comedic way, you know, in a heightened way for that film, I suppose.
Yeah, and and the lever as well that was used on kind of aid, like the sound of the lever of him trying to get out of the car, as you know. I think like the comedy element, almost, that was like the first time I've ever heard like the wrestling of lever to be aided in the gag of hitting. And then I think one of the guys goes, "What the fuck can he get away from? He's supposed to be a getaway driver, but he can't even get out of the car." That was brilliant. Yeah.
You know, those guys, they were brilliant. They
Robbie G and Lenny.
yeah, Robbie G, Lenny's coat, it was secondhand. Robbie's we had made. We got it. It was a Russian military. You know those big Russian military parkas that are fur lined.
Yes.
We had it made in suede. I had it copied in Brick Lane. So because we were trying to look for interesting jackets for them to, you know, give them character but be slightly different, but you know, seem that they were all the same gang and all the same friends, and Lenny's was secondhand, and I don't know what someone had put in the pocket, but the dog just went for him every single time. It was the left hand pocket, I think, must have had dog treats in it or whatever it had in it, and he just used to attack Lenny every time he wore the coat. It was so funny. We'd have to kind of wrestle the dog off him all the time. You know, it was kind of things like every day there was sort of madness like that, and rather than anybody get annoyed, it was just funny. We just laughed.
I saw in one of the making videos, he pulled out his phone and the dog had bitten through his phone. So that dog really did go for them, didn't it? It took no prisoners.
Quite scary. He was quite a like a, you know, strong little dog as well.
Yeah, yeah, he looked like a killer. Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah.
Can you remember any buyings of the brands? I noticed at the end of the credits, Dunhill was thanked.
Yeah, that Dunhill, that was through Guy. I think that was through Guy and Matthew Dunhill, and we would have used a lot more of them, but we did use pieces. But I think sometimes when you use and you don't have a long lead time, I mean, my prep was literally 3 weeks, so there's no lead time, so they weren't really on. They were super wanted to be involved, but they just weren't able to service a film with the multiples and stunt doubles and, you know, things like that. So we ended up not using them as much as we'd like to have used. But we used, like, Jason was in a Kilgore. I think they were both in Kilgore suits.
Him and
now
Stephen Graham, both in Kilgore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And Jason and Stephen were. And Vinnie was in a Mr. Eddie suit that we had made, because obviously, you know, again, Mr. Eddie's, he's a brilliant tailor, but he's retired now. But his son Chris runs the business, and but he's a brilliant theatrical tailor, so he totally understands the speed of which you need something turned around.
Oh, his son Chris Kerr.
Chris Kerr, yeah.
I messaged him. He is my white whale, I should say.
Yeah.
Let me, if I can interject. A friend of mine, Matt Spacer, who runs the blog Bond Suits. We've been trying to get hold of Chris for a long time, because we wrote a book about the style of James Bond. It's coming out in a couple of months, and we've been trying to get hold of Chris for ages. And you know, bless him, he's not very responsive. But finally, out of nowhere, he accepted my LinkedIn request, and I think I must have put that in a couple of years ago. So I just messaged Matt. I said, he's accepted my LinkedIn request. What do I do? Just message him. So I said, hey, Chris, do you fancy coming on the show? And he goes, yeah, absolutely. And that was a couple of weeks ago. And again, since then, nothing. I don't know. Maybe he's just not interested. Or he likes to keep up the myth of not ever being interviewed by us. But yeah, so that makes sense then.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so at the time it was Mr. Eddie, but obviously now it's
Yeah.
Chris Kerr doing it. But yeah, he made Vinnie's suit. Um, and then Dennis Farina, Harvey and Hudson, the shirts,
Oh, okay.
and Cordings, and also Turnbull and Asser. He really liked the shirts that button underneath. They have like a loop that goes underneath it, so it keeps your shirt tucked in, which is an ingenious sort of very Savile Row kind of
Ah.
trick.
And are
So
those
he,
the candy stripe ones that I see?
yeah,
Yeah,
there
so
was.
those are
I
Turnbull
think
and
he
Asser,
got
are
them
they?
from a mixture of different places.
Right.
And I'm sure that the sports jacket, it either came from Cordings in Piccadilly, or there was a gentleman's outfitter directly opposite Cordings, which I now think is that weather gear shop. I don't think it's there. It used to be on the corner by, the church, the big church in Piccadilly.
Yes, yes, yes.
There used to be a fabulous gentleman's outfitters there.
Mm.
I can't remember the name of it, and quite a lot of Dennis's stuff came from there. I think quite traditional
Right.
men's outfitters.
And was he, because he was here for like just about 3 weeks, you were saying, did you kind of then take him to the shops whilst he was
Yeah,
here, or?
yeah, we went
Okay.
shopping. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
which was quite nice. He's a very lovely man, and it
Yeah.
was yeah, it was a lovely. Yeah, we had really nice times shopping, and and a lot of the clothes and a lot of the outfits, all of Brad's outfits came from Carlo Manzi, the hire company.
Ah, okay.
He does women's wear now, but he always specialized in menswear. So his menswear is excellent, 20th century, and all of the Brad's great leather hat, which I think he still gets phone calls about.
Is he
Um,
London, Carlo Menzi?
yeah, he
Ah,
used to be in West Hampstead. He's now in Acton,
right.
but he's a fabulous costumier, contemporary, 20th century. But yeah, we did a lot of. That's where we did all the fittings. We fitted Brad there, and all his outfits came from there. And
Right.
then obviously the shoes were purchased and things like that. I think they were Trickers, his shoes. I seem to remember.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sure they were Trickers.
Yeah, big fan of Trickers. They do the
There's a
great
lot of
like
visiting.
purple Dr. Martin-esque boot, don't they? They're
Yeah.
quite famous for those.
Do you know what? Yeah, I'm sure that we bought all his shit. God, it's certain things I remember really clearly, and then other things I'm like, oh, America.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been nice, I guess, to shop Brad Pitt around a bit like Dennis Farina. I mean, Dennis is
Yeah, we
great,
didn't do
but
that.
imagine you'd have had to have shut a few shops
Yeah.
down if you were bringing Brad Pitt in for.
No, I remember when he even came to Carlo's, there was a paparazzi turned up, and where Carlo's used to be was off the beaten track completely. You didn't even know it was there if you didn't know it was there. And I remember his bodyguard saying, "Did you tell them?" I'm like, "No."
How do they know?
But yeah, it's like, how on earth would you know? Very odd. Yeah, very very strange. But we must have gone somewhere with him, because I do remember traveling around with him, but I don't think I went shopping with him. No,
right. Okay.
pretty sure I wouldn't have done that.
And in the making of, I'll leave a link to it in the show notes. I'm not sure if you see it on YouTube, the behind the scenes making of Guy Ritchie handing out fines for people that might even like leave a phone on, or
Oh yeah, that was a nightmare. That they used to. I don't know whether they did it so much on Snatch, but they used to count you out when you were doing checks, which actually used to drive me insane. I
Did
don't
you
think
ever
I
get fined?
Yeah, but I wouldn't have paid them if I did get fined. I would have
Right. Okay.
protested.
Yeah.
I don't remember handing over any money.
Yeah. It would have been a bit mean.
Yeah, it sometimes got a little bit all boys together sometimes.
Yeah.
Us girls like back.
I mean, again, when Guy was reflecting on the film, he was saying that in hindsight, had he known then what he knows now, he would have done about 3 or 4 snatches, like just off the back. He would have just ran it off the face of a cliff, as it were, and just thrown all the other ideas at the Snatch kind of franchise. And he did say, sitting down, it wouldn't take him long to revisit those characters and put them all in the right place. Like Brad Pitt is now Tyson Fury, for example, in real life. So he could probably flesh out these characters again in no time at all. So hopefully he does turn to it. Then you might get another call and you might be back with these guys, right?
It's yeah, you could. There's so much mileage in those characters, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah, I
It's
think
it's
so.
it's it now. Unfortunately, though, it's getting everyone together again.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
Matthew
know,
Vaughn's now become Matthew Vaughan, and Jason
yeah. So
Statham's
everyone,
now Jason Statham's. Yeah.
yeah, everyone, working with everyone's schedules would probably wouldn't happen that easily.
Yeah.
But you could definitely. There's so much mileage in those characters.
Well, I was going to ask also about Mike Reid, because I'm a huge fan of Mike Reid. I grew up watching EastEnders. I loved his stand-up. I always thought he was just a force of nature when you'd see him on screen, and he's brilliant in this. Do you have any memories of meeting Mike Reid at all?
Yeah, I do have a very bizarre memory. I always think that I literally left Brad's trailer to get into a car to drive to the EastEnders set to fit Mike Reid. And I walked in, and they obviously didn't have a green room. So I just walked into what was sort of the foyer. And literally it was Barbara Windsor and all of the cast, Maxine McCutcheon, all of them just sitting, just literally, like, it was, I had to walk through like them. They were sitting either side on benches. It was like, um, and they were all absolutely ripping into him, taking the mickey out of him. All right, Mike, do your fitting. And I remember, God, this is bizarre. This is a really bizarre occurrence. But he was really lovely. I mean, as far as his costume, he was pretty straightforward. And his genius glasses are his genius glasses. I can't take credit for them. They're his own.
They're his own, yeah, yeah. They're
Yeah.
his look, I think, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Benicio Del Toro, lastly, I think when I was getting some screen grabs to send you, because you were saying it's been a while since you've seen it, so I got a few screen grabs, and most of them, when you Google them, are him in like the beautiful ruffled shirts
Ruffled
with
shirt,
the.
yeah.
So tell me about Benicio. What was it like
Oh, he was
tailoring him?
fabulous. He was really, really fabulous. And I don't think that his millions of costume changes I think that was his idea. I'm pretty sure that was his idea. I don't think that was scripted. And his idea, to have them all hanging up in the van and have
That's
all these
right, yeah.
personas that he would get. And so they were all in Carlo. We developed them all in Carlos. We just, just put them all together and created all these. And I mean, he just looks fabulous in everything.
He does.
But that ruffle shirt is I think my favorite.
Yeah, yeah.
That was great that day. I remember that day filming it. But yeah, and you asked me about the tailors, and I can't remember that. I can't remember being on set for that scene. So either I was away doing something else, or I was, fitting someone or shopping, or because I don't recall being on set for that. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't a real tailor. I think it was an extra. Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure that it wasn't anybody.
Because he
Would have
does
been
bring.
good if it was, wouldn't it? That was a
Well,
shame.
that's why I
Really shame.
asked, and for people listening, I mentioned to Verity that the tailoring scene where he is getting tailored, it looks pretty good. Obviously,
Yeah,
if it's a set, it looks like a real genuine tailor.
good. Whoever the guy was, he was good. And I really apologise if it is a tailor, but I'm pretty sure it's not.
Yeah,
Sure it was an actor.
because I was speaking to the gentleman who was in The Kingsman when they did. Crikey, I've forgotten his name. Begins with C, but he was the tailor in The Kingsman, measuring up Samuel L. Jackson in The Huntsman down on Savile Row, and he says it's a real bugbear of his when tailors don't know what they're doing in film. So like, sorry, not tailors, when actors don't know what they're doing acting as tailors, really pisses him off. So
I can imagine. It's like watching a hospital drama and them not doing it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Drives you mad.
Well,
Like we must have filmed it in a tailor's. I don't think that was a set. That must have been filmed, but that is one thing I racked my brains, and I even looked it up on YouTube, and I was like, no, it doesn't ring any bells.
Okay, we'll have to ask Benicio next time we see him. Well, it was a terrific film. I loved revisiting it. I think it was on Netflix or Amazon, one of the two. It's out there now. It's quite accessible for everyone, and I would really suggest people that haven't seen it in a while go back and have a look, because the gags hold up. It's as stylish as heck. I mean, GQ did a whole spread on it, I think, like the following month of like get the Snatch look, etc. And yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. And thanks for going down memory lane and talking some Snatch with us, Verity. Really appreciate it. Yeah,
Pleasure.
and catch you next time. What are you working on currently, or what do you think you might have coming up? Anything you can talk about?
I'm not sure. There's things knocking around. I've been in commercials for a long time because of my kids, and just the nature of how it ends up being. Because I end up doing really lovely jobs that I get to travel the world and do, and work with really amazing people. So, but I'm heading back into long form. So, yeah, we'll see.
Great. Okay. Hopefully you'll come
Emerging
back
from
on.
lockdown. So,
Yeah, Snatch 2. Hopefully we'll get
yeah.
you back on.
Why
Thanks,
not?
Verity. Enjoy your
You're welcome.
weekend. Thanks for coming on. Take care. Nice meeting
Bye.
you. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye.